Nightwing beats Batman. Now prove it. Pre-fire the like. Let's get into this.
Hey everyone, Crisis here. So this video isn't exactly going to be the most highly edited or scripted one I've ever done. If you want to see that,
I'm gonna say right off the bat, I think that Nightwing can beat Batman. Keyword can beat Batman. I don't know if he beats Batman every single time, but the reason I say Nightwing can beat Batman if he's really trying is because of what Bruce Wayne has said. I can't remember the exact issue, but if I find it, I'll throw it up on screen. But literally, Bruce Wayne told like everybody and told Dick himself, said, "You are literally the best of all of us." He's talking about the entire Bat family. That's a notable moment for Nightwing. Dick Grayson is trained and meant to be a better Bruce Wayne, a better Batman, a better vigilante. He's taken over Bloodhaven at a far younger age than freaking Bruce Wayne was doing when he became, obviously, Batman. He's just more talented, more acrobatic. His detective skills is way more on point. His fighting skills is way more on point. It's like, yes, Bruce Wayne as Batman is a master of like all these skills, but like Nightwing, Dick Grayson, bro, I'm just, I will glaze the freaking hell out of Dick Grayson. I'm just saying. I think Nightwing definitely clears. I think he clears.
I've explained this multiple times in my other videos, but this will serve to just cut right to the heart of the matter and clear up any confusion, hopefully. It should prove to be very informative. There are some sources I have that likely very little others do, and I have spent years looking into this topic. So for any of the naysayers,
right, well, I'm interested. By the way, this is by Crisis. I'm gonna do him a subscribe right now.
Interested. This is why Nightwing does in fact beat Batman. Oh, and if you see Danko post or repost one of his old Nightwing versus Batman videos that he certainly plagiarized, just skip that, watch this, and check out the playlist exposing him, by the way.
Damn.
There are multiple statements from When Dick is Robin just outright clarifying that Batman taught him everything he knew. That includes all of his fighting.
Okay, he's going into it.
All of his tactics, he just knew it all. He then also sent Dick to train with the same masters that raised Batman. And we can't ignore the fact that Dick Grayson was like a 9-year-old when all of this happened. He was also already a peak athlete as opposed to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, because literally he was trained to be an acrobat.
In fact, there are multiple statements from When Dick was Robin. He was number 2 to Batman. Let's think about...
This is kind of why I didn't mind playing Gotham Knights. Like, yeah, the gameplay wasn't as smooth as the Arkham series, but it was also made by different developers. I thought it was a great take.
What that really means for a second here. That means that Dick Grayson is more skilled in the likes of Green Arrow or other characters.
Whoa, go back. Say that again? Hold on, I'm gonna raise volume out real quick.
Grayson is more skilled in the likes of... Think about what that really... From When Dick was Robin, he was number 2 to Batman.
The membership of the Teen Titans Part 1, the original members, arts and criminology were soon second only to those of his mentor. As Dick Grayson, he was a high school student the time of the origin of the Teen Titans, leaving the team for a time to begin his college career after the events of Teen Titans 25. As the oldest and most experienced member of both the original and current Teen Titans team, Robin became the group's permanent leader and battle tactician. Despite being the only member of either the first or present team, except Speedy, who possesses no superpowers. Despite his ongoing partnership with Batman, interrupted only during the time at Hudson University in New Carthage. Yeah, I mean, like, bro, come on, first appearance, Brave and the Bold, 54. Robin, this is the earliest story in which definitively involves the Robin of Earth 1 and is not duplicated by events on Earth 2. See synopsis below. This story immediately proceeds the definitive first appearances of the Earth Robin in Batman 164 and Detective Comics 327, Tales of the Teen Titans 44 as Nightwing number 3. Origin Detective Comics 38, actually the Earth 2 Robin, but their origins are almost identical. Base of operations, Gotham City, eventually moves to Bloodhaven. Membership continuous since the Brave and Bold 54. Synopsis, and this is the whole synopsis here. Robin, circus acrobat Dick Grayson, was orphaned after a crime boss sabotaged his parents' trapeze line. Adopted by billionaire Bruce Wayne, the young boy became Batman's protege, battling the worst criminals in Gotham City as Robin. Grayson received peerless crime-fighting training, which he combined with his own exceptional acrobatic talents. This soon placed him in the ranks of the most skilled martial artists in the world, only second only to his mentor. On top of that, you gotta remember that Dick Grayson was able to overcome that rage and aggression that Bruce Wayne literally has been trying to tell every one of his Robins, you have to let go of. You have to let go of this. This will make you better than me. And Dick Grayson is the only Robin to actually let go of their other worldly issues to just fully be the best version of a vigilante that they could be.
Batman. Let's think about what that really means for a second here. That means that Dick Grayson is more skilled than the likes of Green Arrow or other characters that are just rivals to Batman. Dick is actually more skilled than that. So these gaps that we're talking about here, they're not that far apart. They're really close.
Now, I get the reason why people are going to say, well, Batman is he's just better. He trained him. Okay, it don't matter. Your parents trained you. Your parents taught you things that you know, right? You're probably better than your parents at a lot of things, right? That's how life goes. You are supposed to get strong enough and wise enough that you're better than your mentors. And he's just more popular. Yes, Batman's more popular than Robin. He has more iterations than Robin does, and he's brought to the forefront in media way more often. When was the last time you seen a media where Robin was the sole proprietor? He was the sole existing, thriving force of the story. That garbage freaking HBO Max series, Titans, like, yeah, Robin doesn't get those iterations like Batman does. If Robin had his own series to take place in like Bloodhaven and show his upbringing with Batman and stuff like that, and he actually had movies and started getting like super mega popular, everybody would know that Robin is better than Batman.
Becomes
or
clear
specifically
if you actually
Nightwing.
Go back and read those Golden Age comics or even the early flashback books showing Dick as Robin. He's very often scaling to these dudes that give Batman a hard time. To put this in the context,
that is true.
When Batman first fought Joker, think about this, with all of his training, he's a grown man. He is the Dark Knight fully formed. In fact, technically after year 1 and year 2, the first time he ever fought Joker in the Golden Age, which is currently still canon, he got knocked out. Dick Grayson restrained the Joker on his first night on the job. He outmaneuvers Batman's
first night, bro. Stop playing with him.
Stated at the time. This is Robin.
Nah, bro, we're not just gonna slide by that. Hold on. Police scanner. A guy who looked like a clown robbed a jewelry store near here and escaped on foot, so he might still be in the neighborhood. I mean, Batman, what are we doing? And then he explained it. Pretty fancy neighborhood to be in. Lots of houses worth robbing. Could be worth checking. Something wrong? Boom. Anyways, even the Joker can be surprised, and that's probably why I succeeded. My first bust, I left him tied up for the cops and got out of sight.
Job. He outmaneuvers Batman's deadliest villains.
Whoa, bro, you going too fast, bro. You making people have to. People actually like me actually like to take their time and read all that, bro.
Restrained the Joker on his first night on the job. He outmaneuvers Batman's deadliest villain.
The Joker is undeniably the most dangerous and unpredictable foe Batman has ever encountered. He literally reinvents himself each morning, concocting deadly new laugh riots to bedevil the Dark Knight and his allies. While safely confined within the impregnable walls of Arkham Asylum for the criminally insane, the Joker has spun investigating psychiatrics, various yarns concerning his troubled origins. Most of his tales can be dismissed, but a few facts remain that give some insight into how this leering lunatic came into being.
Villains, that's just verbatim stated at the time.
And we got to read that one. We got to read that one too.
Batman's deadliest villains. That's just.
The Joker is demented but brilliant. He is skilled electrical and mechanical engineer and a world-class chemist. Despite no evidence of formal training, he is deceptively strong, extremely limber, and possesses an absurdly high tolerance for pain. The Joker has themes he returns to again and again: clown gags, amusement parks, playing cards, and brightly painted airships. But that doesn't mean he's predictable. I have studied the Joker more than any criminologist on Earth. And every time I think I figured out his next move, he does the opposite. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying, stop playing with him. I'm just saying.
This is Robin. You pretty much have to disregard the notion that, say, Joker, Catwoman, these guys have never given Batman a run for his money. That's just blatantly not true. In fact, there are stories in the Golden Age which just flat out say that Robin knows everything Batman knows, and they would actually have intellectual competitions, and Dick Grayson would get the better of Batman.
You know, another thing that's something that people should take into account? How young Robin was. I know he said like, oh yeah, he knew all this stuff by the age of 9, but like really take it in for a second. When you're the youngest in your age, you're the most impressionable, you take in the most information, you learn things so quickly. And Bruce Wayne was much older, learning all this stuff. Robin is basically learning this stuff as a way of life and growing it into his adulthood.
And even at one point lost all of his memories, and it was up to Dick Grayson to train him, to retrain him in everything he knew. The pair would spar together, Dick Grayson oftentimes scoring Batman. And even when the Cape Crusader and, say, the Man of Steel left the planet, Robin was trusted with all of Gotham. Keep in mind, there's no extended Bat family at this point. It's just Dick Grayson as like a 10-year-old holding the whole city down while people like the Joker
I'm telling you,
are open.
See, like people... The other people in the Bat family get upset that, like, basically that Bruce Wayne has so much highly regards of Dick Grayson. But it's like, do y'all know the stuff that he has been through? Y'all grew up learning about Dick Grayson as Robin, bro. And yeah, when he became his Nightwing persona, pretty much everybody was like, well, damn. We shouldn't mess with him.
Causing any mayhem, Batman had total faith in this kid. His faith would be justified as when Batman was mind-controlled in the Golden Age and went on a crazy crime spree, Robin was able to track him down, and with tears in his eyes, he had to one punch and knock out this Batman who admittedly couldn't bring himself to fight his comrade. Yet, all the same, this speaks volumes for an extremely early Robin, and I also think this is worth pointing out. Canonically, by the time year 1 ends, Batman is 26 years old. Dick Grayson is then recruited around the time when Batman would be 28. A athlete, especially in combat sports, reaches their prime within their 30s, maybe late 20s. So ask yourself, who is going to grow faster? Who is going to have the chance?
That's what I just said.
Even compared
That's
to
what I just said. The fact that he's so young.
Someone who, up until they were about maybe 18 years old, give or take, considering Bruce Wayne did not start physical training until he was an adult and traveling the world.
Yeah, and literally he didn't start trying to stretch and limber up his body until that time, whereas literally Dick Grayson was trained since basically birth to be in this acrobatic family.
Versus a 9-year-old who is already a peak athlete trained by the greatest acrobats on Earth. Batman had already mastered every martial art by the time of his first year crime fighting. Logically, Nightwing in his prime would be a magnitude greater than Batman, considering Bruce essentially copied and pasted all of his skills into Robin, who had already spent all of his childhood honing himself physically, and then starts and lives an entire superhero career, much of the time right beside Batman, fighting the same foes who forced the Dark Knight to increase his own adeptitude before Robin even left the nest. He then joins a super team within his teenage years compared to Batman, who is probably like 30 when he met Superman. He then trains besides them, moves into his own.
Yeah, and to Bloodhaven, he leads the Teen Titans. He learns about teamwork. He learns about all this stuff.
Has to face criminals with quote unquote unsurpassed intellect. In terms of experience, Grayson trained, fought alongside, and grew beside the nearly fully formed Dark Knight. Certainly by now, he's probably in his mid-20s. And yes, it's no lie to say that Batman does massively improve. However, so does Dick Grayson. Even by 1989, Nightwing, this kid's like 19, 20 years old, is stated to be an equal combatant to Batman. There are various instances where these characters and other characters...
I know something people are going to say is, well, prep time. Okay, if Nightwing has prep time, he also beats Batman. I don't care who you are. If Nightwing has prep time, he also beats Batman. If Nightwing has prep time, he also beats Superman. If Nightwing has prep time, he beats everybody in DC. Serious.
Constantly improve over one another into drastic degrees. That's fine. But let's grant Nightwing...
They're trained by the same... Like, they have the same training. They have the same training. Nightwing is literally physically stronger, physically faster, and smarter. Okay? So what makes you think that if Bruce had prep time, that during that time of prepping, Dick Grayson would not also be prepping? Like you can't just give one a leg up and the other not. Okay, he's not just gonna show up at his door, knock knock, it's time to fight, bitch. Like, no, them niggas are both going to be on the same playing field of intellect, of thinking about how to one up the other, and Nightwing is going to win that fight.
Courtesy. Let's actually look at what he does as he improves.
And it's crazy because I've always been literally shunned amongst groups of comic book nerds in my school when I was still in school, and inside of like comic book stores and shit, for saying that Nightwing is better than Batman. And they look at me like, what did he say? Like, yes, bro. Yeah. Yes.
Let's look at Deathstroke.
I'll stand on it.
Deathstroke is one of those characters where at the same time he gets super...
I'm so glad he brings up Deathstroke. How many times has Bruce Wayne actually beaten Slade? Fair and square. Now, how many times did Nightwing / Robin do it? And he was his main villain during Teen Titans, right?
Super hyped up and super respected, but then as soon as you suggest for whatever reason that he is a good metric to scale Nightwing to Batman, it just becomes heresy, and all of a sudden Deathstroke sucks and he doesn't scale to Batman. Let's look at all these statements. All these statements call Deathstroke a rival to Batman. I've already
quite literally a rival to Batman, and that's Robin's main villain that he beats on a daily.
Versus Deathstroke video. Here are all the times that Deathstroke has either severely pressed Batman, outright beaten him, or there's extenuating circumstances, such as within Rebirth, Deathstroke intends to lose on purpose. He wants to be put into Arkham, and with that said, he still nearly beats Batman. He is severely injured here, and he's resorting to things that Batman would not do against regular...
Yeah, bro, Slade is a different beast, bro. He has just as much training as Bruce does.
He has blasted Deathstroke with arrows into the eye and into the chest.
And the thing about Slade is much older than Bruce. So yes, on a scale of if they were the same age, I think Slade would absolutely outclass Batman, bro. Outclass him. Slade is in his elder years putting the works on Batman.
Multiple times. This is a high div fight. You cannot deny that, and Deathstroke lost on purpose. And then you look at Deathstroke versus Batman, the actual, multi-part comic storyline here. Again, just littered with statements from the writer, from DC.com. Deathstroke is a rival to Batman. He rivals him.
Yeah, now we all get that technically.
If you're
we all get that. Yes, on a technicality standpoint, if you were to freaking be for real, yes, who wins in the fight and who's better is up to the writers during that comic run. But there's a lot of consistency within the characterizations of both Nightwing and Batman.
9.9 repeating % of another
and
fighter.
Deathstroke.
You're near equal. It is 100% fair to say that.
I'm sorry, you was talking. Say that again one more time. Hold on. My fault. Say that one more time.
Rival to Batman. He rivals him, which, by the way, being near equal, if you're 99.9 repeating % of another fighter, you're near equal. It is 100% fair to say that.
That's the same thing and same reason why people consistently sleep on Taskmaster. Taskmaster he's so intelligent, and he's able to mimic people's styles, and he gives the works on so many superheroes.
Nightwing beating Deathstroke as he does scales
and it's the reason why like people be sleeping on Captain America's intelligence. Captain America can outsmart Taskmaster. Yeah, you're fucking smart, and so can freaking Peter Parker. But we're talking about DC shit here, okay?
Batman, it's just ridiculous. I don't understand. But anyway, within Deathstroke versus Batman, they have their Batcave fight, which already puts Batman at an inherent advantage. He has all these weapons around him. He's using the Batcave, and Deathstroke impressively is able to also use those weapons.
I just have to also add in, Nightwing is top 3 smartest characters in DC Comics.
Able to turn Batman's inherent home field advantage somewhat around. Batman uses these Arkham Origins shock gauntlets, which, yeah, show me how many times Batman uses those. When people come to this point, they're willing to agree, yeah, Deathstroke scales to Batman. It's like the Patrick meme. It's like, okay, you go down the whole line of logic, but once you get to the conclusion, the natural logical conclusion that Nightwing is either equal to
watch, because he's gonna go over this shit with Nightwing, and then we'll see how this scales. Watch.
Stomp for Batman's favor, even though the fight literally ends with both of them unconscious. They then get up to resume the fight, scrap again, and they basically just stalemate again either way. Like, Batman mounted Deathstroke, he was punching him in the face. Deathstroke snuck a sword into Batman's side and rendered him unconscious. Then, like I said, they get
now how does his fights usually go with
Batman
Nightwing?
Actually has to use like shock gauntlets that would make his punches amplified. That's crazy. That's weirdly consistent with, like, I don't know, the fact that Deathstroke, even in Rebirth, can fight like the entire Justice League and like judo tosses Batman into Cyborg and just knocks him unconscious.
And what I'm, again, as an old man, bro, as an old man, if Bruce Wayne had the same amount of training that Deathstroke was given at such a young age, it would have been, it's raps, bro. And yes, I get, depending on which iteration of Deathstroke you want to say, oh, he has the Mirakuru serum, whatever bullshit, right? No, but like just straight training, Deathstroke is just more, Deathstroke is, on a technicality standpoint, a better fighter and slightly better detective / assassin than Batman is. Straight up on paper. It's the fact that he's so much older and Batman is still struggling with him.
Has a high diff fight where he has to consistently do things that are outside of his typical way of fighting. He has to let loose in a crazy way.
Like, he's out of his prime. Think about that.
Or he's shooting arrows into Deathstroke's eye socket, which could kill him. Or he's using shock gauntlets, which he's only ever used against like meta humans, like Lord
that is
Havoc,
true. We're crazy shooting shit into his eye sockets,
like Apex
bro.
Lex, okay? He's using these type of means to contend with Deathstroke and can still only like high diff stalemates him while using this high-tech equipment inside of his own Batcave.
Crazy
it's just ridiculous.
equipment.
Like, come on, man. We're really gonna pretend Deathstroke does not scale to Batman. It's just silly. They only do this. People only do this when the conclusion, the argument you're trying to make is Nightwing scales to Batman or beats him. And we can actually look at other villains. Let's look at Ra's al Ghul. He states that Ra's al Ghul can rival Batman, which we've had seen many times.
Yeah, plenty of times. Yeah, Ra's al Ghul
is a Batman level.
Ra's al Ghul is actually more often than not stronger than Batman. Like, he has so much combat experience that he just thwarts Batman so many times.
Right. And then Dick Grayson, in the end of his post-crisis run, where he then goes on to become Batman, beats Ra's al Ghul. Yep. Ra's al Ghul in the story says, yeah, bro, you're the same as Bruce Wayne. That's the entire point of this issue, is that he's a Bruce Wayne level combatant. And someone who, again, up until now, Ra's has only considered Bruce Wayne to be a worthy rival to him. You just have to make so many concessions for all of these characters.
I forgot about that, actually. At the same time, Nightwing was literally dubbed from Batman, hey, bro, if something ever happens to me, I need you to take up the mantle of being Batman, because Gotham needs a Batman. I know you're taking care of Bloodhaven at the moment, Please, bro. Somebody needs to take up the mantle of Batman. You're the only one.
Characters, including Batman, which I'll talk about, to ignore the fact that Nightwing does scale to Batman.
That freaking intro cinematic was so gas of Gotham Knights.
Known is Raptor, who was a Nightwing villain, after confronting Bruce Wayne and having
a little less, bro. Everybody that's a Nightwing villain is less known. That's all I'm gonna say. Everybody.
Studied the dynamic duo for years and years. He says that Batman would only beat him if he gave him everything he had. And at no point in this story does Bruce Wayne ever disagree or even try to put up a fight after hearing that. This same guy can also fight Deathstroke, and Nightwing is shown stomping that guy. KG Beast is another example. He's just stated to rival Batman as soon as he shows up. He's stated to actually be able to beat Batman on his best day as of 2025 this year. And we have instances in post-crisis, in Rebirth, slams KG Beast on his head. This is all.
It's like, bro, it's consistency, bro. It's consistency. Nightwing is consistently just high tier.
It's pretty obvious. Where it becomes really clear is if you actually, you know, set your biases aside and look at every time Dick Grayson has fought Batman in
I love that
memory.
New 52 suit, bro.
Post-crisis, Batman got Superman's powers. He went
is it New
crazy.
52?
He one-shot Bane, and then Nightwing pulled up, retaught him what it meant to feel pain, was dodging him, and he wasn't even rendered unconscious from a full-on elbow from this Batman. Batman then called Dick Grayson the toughest, just outright. Yeah, okay. That certainly doesn't mean, you know, Dick Grayson scales to base Batman. There's just no way, right? He's fighting an
yeah, man, there's no way.
Even if he hadn't been like taking sun dips or whatever up until then, you're gonna tell me that this guy, this version of Batman, is not stronger than his typical base form? Come on, man. We then have the New 52 fight, which you just have to be coping. It's just pure cope to say that this is anything other than what it's clearly intended to be. The writer says it, the fight itself showcases it. Batman and Dick
yeah, I was about to say, bro, New 52, bro.
Jason Todd's, you know, costume memorial, slamming each other into the computers, breaking the Batmobile.
Jason Todd always be getting jealous of
Dick Grayson is the
Dick
last
Grayson.
man standing. Batman says the whole point of this fight, the only way this ends is if you beat me. Then he says, yeah, you know, you won. I just don't know where all this mental gymnastics, where does this come from?
Outright says you won.
I know exactly where it comes from, actually. Another strange phenomena I'm seeing is the somehow simultaneous downplay and wank of Batman whenever it comes to his fights with Nightwing. And I'll tell you what I mean. So we have the Zur-En-Arrh fight, the Zdarsky fight. It's being stated that Zur-En-Arrh is making Batman, you know, stronger, more capable. That's exactly what it was introduced as when Grant Morrison, you know, reinvented that persona. His new metal hand makes him stronger. It's all pretty clear here.
Filled with rage. Read that again.
Metal hand.
Batman descends on Gotham City full of rage and force, more driven than ever to save his home. But the new landscape has turned his friends into foes. Can anyone stop his reign of terror? Should they? The Gotham War continues.
Makes him stronger. It's all.
Yeah, you know who that person was? Nightwing.
Let's look at this issue holistically. Batman is stronger than he typically is. Nightwing goes to fight him, to detain him. Nightwing is floored by the stronger Batman. He still gets up, hits him with the grapple gun, which is a totally valid way to win a fight. If people are going to say that Batman is superior to Cassandra Cain because he used a grapple hook, then you should be able to say the same about Nightwing here. However, I love
videos like this where they literally. They just don't pull shit out of the ass. He's like pulling stuff and giving you the example too. He's like, yeah, you know, but if Batman was able to use this and Nightwing is able to use it and you're saying that he's not able to use it, but y'all said it was good for him at that time.
And it doesn't even really seem to do all that much.
He's giving you the examples, bro, putting it in your face.
And people, again, they just use this one-sided like lack of generosity. If you're gonna say Batman was hurt by the grapple gun, then acknowledge that Nightwing was just floored here. He was clearly hurt. No one's arguing against that. However, that being said, he gets up, gets the better of Batman by launching him through this window, with Tim Drake and Damian Wayne being shown fighting, saying that there has been an amount of time between the grapple gun hits Batman and the time where Nightwing gets the better of him and launches him and is beating him into this corridor. Batman then has to use the strength offered to him by his new metal hand to get Nightwing off of him. Nightwing goes to investigate Jason Todd.
Bro, beating the works out of him.
On Tim Drake, no surprises there. And here's where people...
Tim Drake... I think Tim Drake is the weakest Robin.
people do this weird thing, like I said,
is that good to say?
Like, Batman
he's the weakest
can't
Robin.
Notice Dick Grayson. He can't like get
he's a
into
technological
battle stance.
genius, but he's the weakest Robin.
When he sees an assailant
all
leaping
around
at him after screaming at him. Again, it's like in order to preserve their notion that Batman has to be so superior to Dick Grayson, they then also have to sacrifice Batman's capabilities to do so. He's looking right at him. What are we even saying at this point? If someone's leaping at Batman, they just don't. He doesn't have any recourse. I don't get it. All roads leads to Nightwing rivaling Batman. There's no way to go about it. If you say his villains
I don't think he rivals him, bro. I just think he's better.
Then Dick Grayson is superior to those guys. How often is Batman even done like this ever? Only people superior to Batman physically, like Bane and Deathstroke, typically are depicted as, which I've showcased in other videos. If you're telling me that Nightwing can sneak up on and pummel Batman into the ground, and Batman simply there's nothing he can do, and you're gonna say that that's like...
And Batman was even resting and meditating with Damian between issues of Gotham War.
Like being caught off guard, then I'm sorry. Nightwing is so skilled that he can catch Batman.
Damian is more talented than Batman.
Off guard and beat him into the ground. I don't even think these people realize what they're saying sometimes when they leave these comments or make these arguments or make these Reddit threads. It's super cringe, man.
Because he immediately goes for the kill. His fighting style is just more ruthless.
It's like a different body for Batman or whatever. Batman's fought as animals plenty of times in the past. He has a history of doing this. He's been turned into Man-Bat before. Even if Batman lost all of his skills, which it's just stated to the contrary, that's just not the case. He's still like an 8-foot-tall werewolf. Is Nightwing knocking out this physically amped Batman? Is that just not a feat at all? We're really gonna play that game? Let's say Batman, because he has claws now, all of his abilities to throw a strike.
It stated outright that the beast spores used the martial arts of
or a haymaker are just completely out the window because his fingernails are sharper.
Which proves and shows that he was just as powerful. He was just as talented. He was just even more powerful and quicker.
He's 8 feet tall. He's actually weaker. He's actually less capable. Okay, sure. There's no getting around the fact that Nightwing beat a physically amplified Batman. He's stronger than he would be otherwise. There's just no way to argue against that. When it comes
Nightwing is literally peak human.
People like to ignore the Damian Wayne statement, and they cite how Batgirl Barbara Gordon could hit Nightwing when he was turned into a fox, as if they don't really understand the argument at hand here. If all Nightwing did was hit Batman once, then yeah, sure. I don't think anyone would be saying that he scales to him really, or he could beat
him. But he didn't.
That's all Barbara Gordon did. It's
pummeled
a really
him, though.
disingenuous position to try to correlate these two. Barbara Gordon did not beat Nightwing. She hit him one time. Okay, I don't see how that contradicts anything at all. Jason Todd managed to hit Batman one time during the whole Zur-En-Arrh fiasco, when if you read the tie-ins, Batman could also just completely dominate him. I don't know if we all missed Iron Man versus Thanos, but landing a single attack is not evidence to say that you can actually beat that person. It's insane what happens when you put on your thinking caps. From there, it kind of just all falls apart. Maybe you could look at the statements saying that Batman is just the best fighter on the planet, or statements saying that Nightwing is number 2 to Batman. These are either contradicted by feats or they're just outdated. Like I said, these characters are constantly training, so I'm not saying...
Or it's the fact that Batman is just straight up more popular. So people were just going to give him the popular vote.
That at any point in their history, Batman has not surpassed Nightwing. But by and large, and especially in the modern day, since about like 2014, the case has been made and the narrative has been written thus that Nightwing could beat Batman on
I'd say way before 2014,
also,
brother.
Any of these statements that say Batman is the best fighter, especially now, and arguably even back in the day, are again just contradicted by either characters who support the same statements or better feats than Batman, for example.
But the thing about like things inside of comic books and inside of like manga, when people say he's the strongest in the world, the next, like literally it could be the next issue, all of a sudden Frieza shows up. But I thought Vegeta was the strongest in the world. So you like, the world is very secluded in comic books. People just be throwing out baseless statements all the time. It's feats you have to look at in comics. You could say the Flash is the fastest man alive. Okay, but are you talking about Barry Allen? Are you talking about Wally West? Are you talking about Jay Garrick? Like, the Flash is a moniker. It's a name. It's a title. It's not the person, right? The Flash is the fastest man in the world. But he's not. It depends on which depiction of him are you talking about, right? There's only one Nightwing. There's different Nightwings in different universes, but it's different for Flash, right? Flash, like Barry Allen and Wally West exist in the same universe. Bruce Wayne and another Bruce Wayne doesn't exist. There's no other Batman. So it's Batman and his consistency of being Batman, and Nightwing and his consistency of being freaking Nightwing, and the consistency of all of the rest of the Bat family, depending on where you're at in the timeline, not where you're at in the multiverse, depending on where you're at in the timeline. Yeah. Nightwing just beats Batman every time.
Right now, we know for a fact that Black Canary
and yeah, at one point in time, Batman was the strongest fighter, was the quickest, was the most talented detective. But then Nightwing came into the picture.
Shiva are the #1 and 2 best fighters. So anyone who
Grayson
has
is
the stigma
built
that
different,
Batman
bro.
is like #1, just nobody's even up.
And what's the problem anyways with mentors? I mean, with sidekicks being stronger than their mentors anyway. It doesn't make any sense. Like, that's the whole purpose of training a sidekick. It's not just so they can have your back, it's so they can be better than you.
Approaching his level of combat, that couldn't be more far from the truth. So making the claim that Batman is just a better fighter than Nightwing is just baseless, really. When it comes to the modern day, there is admittedly a bit of an underlying narrative or theme that Batman is getting older and he's not really in his prime anymore. So what some people like to argue is, okay, yeah, well, Nightwing is only surpassing Batman now that he's not at his peak. But again, just look at the historical context. That's not true. We can go back to
literally when he was Robin,
where Batman stated better than ever and Dick Grayson is his superior. But even nowadays, that doesn't really seem to
is that the comics I was talking about where he literally said that he's the best of all of us. Bruce has done exactly what I hoped he would. He's come back energized, humanized, and ready to put the cowl back on without getting lost in its shadows. Batman Incorporated will cast a worldwide net to catch the active criminals.
Grayson is his superior back at his peak, but again, just look at the historical
context. I'm trying to go back and see if I've missed any portion of that comic.
Post-crisis, where
I almost forgot what it feels like to get them from him. The original Batman and better than ever.
Batman stated better than ever and Dick Grayson is his superior. But even nowadays, that doesn't really seem to be the case. For instance, Zur-En-Arrh just made Batman stronger and was actually Bruce Wayne's crutch to offset his aging body, that combined with the metal hand. So at worst, Batman with Zur-En-Arrh with the metal hand is equal to his peak, and Nightwing just flat out beat him into the ground after withstanding his best attacks. Also, if you read Detective Comics, which was happening concurrently.
I mean, again, like I said, Batman like
goes on this weird
he's still just been better than him since Robin, or his equal since Robin.
That he's actually gotten better.
If anything, Nightwing was his equal as Robin and surpassed him as Nightwing.
He's better than ever. So it seems to be the
say that again.
Both of these characters spirit quest, and it's heavily implied, like it's been stated many times before for both of these characters, that he's actually gotten better. He's better than ever. So it seems to be the case that actually Batman is better than ever when Nightwing is beating him. And if you read Nightwing's book, you'd actually learn that throughout both of these events, the Gotham War and Beast World, Nightwing was actually nerfed. That's right, a villain had spiked his drink with a new strain of fear toxin, which gave Dick crippling fear of heights. Remember that in both of these fights against Batman, he's leaping from rooftops.
That's crazy. He's just fighting through his fears regardless, though.
Rooftops or fighting on rooftops. Meaning that, yes, logically, Nightwing would be pretty much uncharacteristically terrified while combating this Zur-En-Arrh, Metal Hand, and or giant werewolf channeling Batman skills verbatim stated and shown with Damian Wayne becoming a beast. So even if you think Nightwing performed badly for whatever reason, or if you interpret Zur-En-Arrh and becoming a werewolf to be nerfs for Batman, again, for some reason, it's actually irrefutable
Bro, all I'm
irrefutable
saying
that
is if Nightwing pull up
himself
on you,
was
you know,
nerfed
you
on
just
top
go
of
ahead and
that.
put down your
reality,
entire
a
activity.
nerfed
Like, yes,
weakened Nightwing
Batman,
was beating
same thing.
a amped
But if
Batman.
Nightwing pulls up on you
Another
as a
straw that
supervillain,
you might grasp at is the notion that, okay, well, Batman holds back, right? You know,
I
he's
don't
obviously
even-
not trying to kill people.
I don't care if you're a supervillain, bro. You see Nightwing, run. Or just give up.
Deathstroke points this out. I think that's kind of a moot point because Nightwing
He's saying no, what Batman's holding back? That's ass. I hate when people say, oh, he's just holding back, bro. He's just holding back. He's just holding back. Cool. Totally just holding back.
nerfed, weakened Nightwing was beating a amped Batman. Or fighting on rooftops, meaning that yes, Tatum stated and shot on top of that. In reality, a nerfed, weakened Nightwing was take up the cape and cowl for him when to really put their foot moot point because Nightwing, no, he's obviously not trying to kill people. Deathstroke points this out. I think it's kind of a moot point because Nightwing also isn't trying to kill people.
Yeah,
it's
let's say
a father and son fight. In my opinion, these
they're holding back the exact same amount. Then at that point,
more out of character, at least in the sense that he's either a werewolf or being enraged by his darker half. It almost seems like this is intentional to really put their foot down and say this is the hierarchy. Nightwing can do this. Backtrack a little bit. Dick Grayson became Batman. Batman knows that Dick Grayson will take up the cape and cowl for him when he dies. Dick Grayson has replaced Batman when Bruce Wayne's been out of commission, even in DC Rebirth as recently as that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He's literally became Batman.
Batman would have assessed that Nightwing would be able to protect his city against these villains that he fights pretty much all the time. Barbara
as
Gordon
a
in
kid,
DC
he decided
Rebirth
that.
said that Nightwing is Batman.
Batman decided that for Robin as a child.
Equal as a fighter. Keep in mind, she was Oracle, the official intelligence liaison for the entire superhero community, and Batman has said that if anyone was to know something, it would be her. She has a perfect photographic memory, a database of all of the best fighters, and the Dark Knight himself trusts her intellect almost above all others. Grant Morrison said that Batman has trained people to have surpassed him. Chuck Dixon, who's written more Batman and Nightwing than anyone alive, said that Nightwing is just as good a crime fighter, he's just as capable as Batman, and that as of 2007, Chuck Dixon believed Nightwing would surpass Batman one day. Grant Morrison used these two bats to parallel.
The writer said it, bro. It's true.
When Bruce Wayne returned from the past, stating that despite the younger bat being stronger and faster than the older one, that didn't mean the older bat was just going to give up. If you just want to say death of the author and throw out every author statement ever, at least I can somewhat understand where you're coming from. But a normal person, a rational person, is probably going to put some stock into what the actual writers of the comics think about the characters that they're depicting and they're crafting. So again, take Grant Morrison, take Chuck Dixon, take Tom King. These guys are pillars of the Batman mythos. If you like them or not, if you think they're biased, it doesn't really matter. These guys literally create these stories. Tom King believes that Dick Grayson is a better fighter than Batman. Tom Taylor.
I mean, at this point, I feel like we beating a dead horse, man. There's plenty of evidence in this video to prove that Dick Grayson is a better fighter, more intelligent in every regard. I mean, he was hanging with Batman as a kid, bro, as a 8, 7, 9-year-old. What more evidence do you need other than that? You're expecting that he just never gets better as he ages and reaches peak human?
Clearly believes and has
peak male strength,
to be
peak male everything
than Batman. Chuck Dixon, when he was writing the character about 20 years ago, said he was equal to Batman and could surpass him one day. Peter Tomasi had Nightwing beating Ra's al Ghul. Grant Morrison had Dick Grayson being faster and stronger than Bruce Wayne, using parallelism. In fact, when Bruce Wayne came
over
back
years,
after
bro,
Darkseid had sent him through time, he was stated to be better than ever, again, in the words of Tim Drake. And Grant Morrison was still like, yo, nah, this Dick Grayson guy, his Batman is a better Batman. Batman has trained people to succeed him. Another thing I've seen people do is really harp on Batman's knowledge and contingencies, even though Grant Morrison, gosh,
bro, I just said this. Doesn't matter if he has contingencies. There's no way that Nightwing isn't going to also have those same contingencies for Batman.
Writer who basically created or very much emphasized the Bat God persona of the character stated outright that Dick Grayson surpassed him and is a faster and stronger version of Batman. Those people also ignore that Nightwing has all these contingencies as well. He's the heart of the DC universe. He has more connections than Batman. He picks up on details that Batman just doesn't, because he's more personable, emotionally intelligent than the Dark Knight, on top of it just being a very great empirical detective.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Nightwing isn't brooding. He got over all that rage, all that depression, all that everything, and he let it go. He's able to create connections. He's talking with people. He has the Teen Titans on his side. He has the Justice League, the Young Justice League. He has all these different versions of Flash. He got Batman. He got the Bat Family. Like, Nightwing can be any and everywhere. Bruce Wayne cannot.
Supervillains have tried to get into Nightwing's head
Batman
to learn
cannot.
all of these weaknesses. He has contingencies, as you can see, for Wally West and Superman and Green Lantern, all these guys. He's been able to keep up with Amazo, who has all the Justice League's powers. There was this android in the Grayson series who also had the New 52 Justice League's powers, and Nightwing was able to pick out all of his weaknesses and capitalize on them. And Beast World showed this very well when he had...
It's just one of those things where you got to think, if Batman is doing this, what makes you think that Nightwing didn't pick up on that as well?
Had files on all of these.
Like, obviously he's going to pick up on that.
Taken over by these Starospores. We also see that the villain Clayface, after only briefly being in the Bat family, learned all of the same contingencies. So you're really going to tell me Nightwing doesn't know just everything Batman knows? We already knew that. On the note of contingencies, this is actually the case that Batman's contingency for himself is Nightwing. Scott Snyder, and a lot of people probably don't know this, but he's reiterated in multiple...
Bro, he's just like, yeah, bro, what's the contingency for you, though, Bat? Dick Grayson.
Interviews that, in his opinion, if Batman were to ever go rogue, it wouldn't be Superman to bring him in, the Rails Batman. Which, if you know all this information, reading the Gotham War arc, it basically just seems like Zdarsky pulled on that thread, to be honest with you. To maybe do a roundup too of these random Nightwing versus Batman fights that are kind of on the periphery. Batman versus Robin. A heavily injured Batman is fighting a mind-controlled Nightwing who is wielding a sword that brings out Batman's essentially deepest insecurities. This doesn't really mean much.
I don't remember this.
Nightwing was gonna win this fight, and Batman had to basically use a demonic duplicate of Alfred to convince Nightwing to snap out of his possession. Possession has been shown in DC to nerf the skills of fighters. This was showcased very recently in Birds of Prey, and this doesn't really help anyone's case as well, because later on in this same event, the demon that's possessing all of these people gains more power, focuses it all into Batman rather than having it spread throughout all the different Robins, and Nightwing actually just snaps this super Batman's leg. Again, really consistent here. In the Robins miniseries, Batman is as well basically hallucinating and super enraged, and Nightwing is just able to withstand his entire assault while trying to talk him down the entire time. When you're scaling comic books, right, there's so many stories, there's so many...
I mean, at this point, it's like, do we even gotta finish the video? Like, literally, at this point, do we even gotta finish the video, bro? Nightwing just clears Batman.
Way to come to a conclusion is finding a consistency. There are always going to be outliers.
Random thing, I really love that he has the
crazy instances, but if you actually look at all the evidence, talk
like
about
the Arkham games in the background,
books, the feats themselves, this is very consistent. So many different fights where Batman is either empowered, he's enraged, he's freaking out. It's Nightwing who steps up and very often just outright defeats this version of
literally Batman every single time.
Writers believe all of this to be true. If you look at what
literally every single time that Batman has any type of like big plan, he always puts Nightwing in charge. With the Bat family, he always puts Nightwing in charge every time, without a doubt.
Frank Miller universe, then go ahead. I guess there you have a case. But even expanding our purview to say the DC animated universe, in the new Batman Adventures, Nightwing and Batman fight the same guy. Nightwing just completely dominates this dude with a
I was about to say.
Batman has his blood drawn and honestly nearly loses just outright.
And Nightwing just clears, bro. Nightwing just clears.
Say what you will, but if you play as Nightwing throughout that game, he's pretty clearly above an enraged, super-powered Lazarus Pit amped Batman. In the Arkham series, Nightwing can 1v1 Killer Croc, who in Arkham Asylum could just one-shot and kill Batman. They're also literally a one-to-one match with the strongest Croc ever by the time that Batman has upgraded armor, and Arkham Knight makes him faster and more durable. In Arkham VR, we basically see a hypothetical scenario filtered through Batman's mind where if Batman were to go rogue, Nightwing, initially caught off guard and surely hesitant to fight his father figure, is still able to put up a fight against this essentially Jokerized Batman. Again, with no
broken arm,
no idea what's going on. Even resorting to the very cringe DC animated movie universe, the director of the film in which Nightwing
very
loses
cringe
to Batman outright came to his defense and said, yeah, listen, this universe, this Nightwing is very early on in his career, basically implying that this would not happen to current day Nightwing from the comics. There's really no
and that's such an excuse. It's early on Nightwing. Doesn't matter. Early on Nightwing is late season Robin, bro.
Where you can go. It's
he
just
wouldn't lose.
Delusion. And it's actually to his credit that he saw this kid, recognized him as a successor, even when Dick was Robin, realized that Nightwing was more important than Dick becoming Batman in his stead, and gave him the tools, the abilities, the space of his own to become a superior hero to him. That is the narrative of Dick Grayson. It's not, oh, look, Batman trained a 80% level competency of his own superhero.
Oh, that was the whole point of him getting Bloodhaven.
If you actually read all these stories, Dick Grayson fundamentally does not work as a character. You're just misinterpreting his narrative overall if he's not superior to Batman. And I don't just mean he's pretty close, and he's not even as driven by rage. That's not the point. The point is he's not driven by rage, and he's actually better than Batman. He's actually a better fighter. He's actually a more competent superhero. He's a better leader because of those things, because of everything I just said. He learned everything Batman had learned from a much earlier age. He went out into the field again at a much earlier age than Batman. He managed to fight and many times
all of his villains.
Outmaneuvered Batman in his.
And that's why even the animated movie is garbage. You can't say, oh, it's a very early on Nightwing. Bro, get out of here, bro. Early Nightwing is still late stage Robin.
Earlier years, as Robin, he was already stated to be the #2 fighter to Batman, surpassing people that would very closely rival Batman if we take these statements at their face value. Later on, near the 90s, Nightwing was an equal combatant to Batman, and he's able to fight and beat all these different villains that have outright beaten him before. Dick Grayson has a history of fighting amped versions of Batman, and has more recently than not beaten them outright. You'd have to be ignoring the narrative set forth by some of the biggest pillars of the DC and Batman mythos, disregard them as biased, ignore all the work that they've put in.
I'm just saying, when Gotham goes into shit, who he calls #1 is usually freaking Nightwing.
More times than not, yes. Are people still going to try to cope and gaslight themselves into ignoring all of this evidence, or bend over backwards trying to convince themselves that Zur-En-Arrh or becoming a giant superpowered werewolf actually nerfs Batman? For sure that's gonna happen. I hope maybe this video reaches those rational people who maybe
I hope so too. Fire video. Let's finish it up.
I definitely understand if you're coming at it from the video games or the movies, it's not an instantly intuitive position. But if
even in the video games, there are record logs that state that. In Arkham Knight itself, he literally tells Nightwing,
if you've read so much Batman and so much Nightwing like I have, and you try to set your biases aside, this is the result.
Azrael knows it. Come on now.
Clearly what the writers have intended, what the storylines showcase, the historical precedent for this hierarchy. And again, I have so many videos already delving into all these intricacies more thoroughly than's going to be presented here. But
it's the same thing with like how I said Miles is losing every time to Peter at the moment. at the moment. That's the thing. Miles is still fairly new. Let him grow into his own thing, bro. We've had Nightwing and Batman existing damn near same time, bro. They've been around for an equal, like I say that in a baseline basis, like they've been around for so many years. Miles Morales has been around since 2014. Peter has been around since the 60s. There's a literal difference, bro. He has so many more experiences.
I needed to just directly address the cope and
but you train your sidekick. You train the person to be better than you.
Anyone's bubble who is expecting me to maybe say, yeah, Batman's the most skilled fighter in all of these.
Everybody in the Bat family is better than Batman at one thing or another. Nightwing is just better than everybody at everything.
Sorry, buddy.
He's literally the perfect Robin for a reason.
You'd have to put me in the same column with Grant Morrison, Scott Snyder, Tom King, Chuck Dixon, Peter Tomasi, Dan Jurgens, Kyle.
Freaking hate the version of like Nightwing Robin that they try to give inside of the Titans show. That's why I couldn't finish that shit. Bro. What the fuck are y'all doing?
Higgins, Sam Humphries,
because he's like my favorite character.
And Tom Taylor. If you disagree with the words of some of the most influential comic book writers of current and yesteryear, then maybe it's actually you who is biased and not thinking empirically.
And if we got a freaking TV show to focus on Nightwing, that would be so peak, bro. So freaking peak. So goddamn peak. But unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to get one of those. And if they did, I have a feeling they would treat it similarly to The Flash and just make him seem really much more weaker than he should be. Like, he's just not that weak. Well, let's just get a whole movie based on Nightwing. Anyways, I hope this cleared up the confusion. Yes, Nightwing clears Batman every time. If you're going to give Batman prep time, newsflash for you, Nightwing has already had that exact same prep time and has likely made more contingencies that are a lot better than Bruce Wayne's or on par, all right? Don't hate me. Flash it out in the comments, I guess. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. But let's be real here. If your opinion isn't matching mine, it's just the wrong opinion because my opinion is actually facts. Hey, Shiny, next one. Stay safe out there. Peace.
Lights down low, but spirits so high. Game controller in hand, ready to fly. The night's a playground where time stands still. In this cozy nook, let's get our thrill. Pencils shining bright in the midnight glow. Leveling up in a world we know. Laughing together as the hours drift by in this gaming sanctuary.